Good morning, Bhumi. Good morning, everyone. Can't see you all, but good to have all of you back. Good morning, Gargi. Good morning once again to everyone. Please let me know if I'm audible clearly. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. We'll just wait, children, for 2 to 3 minutes. Let everybody join. Then we can get started. Yes, Purval, I do remember. And congratulations. Okay, children, I think we can get started. Yes. So welcome back, everyone. The result stress is over. Everybody has done brilliantly. Congratulations to everyone. I'm sure there are many students who don't know me. Congratulations to you too. A lot of anxiety, I'm sure. A lot of anxiety before your CET, but don't worry, children. See, we have revised everything. We have done all concepts. In fact, we have been doing them for the last 2 to 3 years. We're just going to basically revise all the topics once again, right? So can we get started, children? Yes? Chalo. I hope everybody is in good spirits, have had their morning breakfast, feeling fresh, rejuvenated. So let's begin with our lecture, children. Let's get started. So children, I plan to cover around 3 to 4 topics. We'll see how much time we have and accordingly we'll proceed. Okay. So children, now I'll be sharing the screen, okay, and we will then proceed. So the first topic that I'm going to do today is question tags. So children, as you can see, most of us think that question tags are very simple, and of course they are simple. But what happens is sometimes, we don't have our basics right, and that's the reason students generally tend to make mistakes, which you shouldn't. So we are going to try to clarify all the doubts related to question tags. So henceforth you will never have any problem. Okay, so like I said, a simple topic, but let's brush up. Okay. So question tags, children, what are they first of all? Let's see a small definition. Question tags are short additions to sentences asking for agreement or confirmation. And they are commonly used in our conversations. Yes. So children, see, sometimes when you want to ask a question to someone genuinely, if I ask somebody, what is your name? So I'm genuinely interested in knowing that person's name, right? But if I put a question like, your name is John, isn't it? Now here, children, isn't it obvious that I already know his name is John? I just want to confirm, right? I just want, and I'm trying to emphasize on that. So children, you can see, your name is John, isn't it? So this small question you can see at the end of the sentence, that, my children, is known as question tag. So question tags are short additions at the end of sentences. And they're never meant for an answer. They're never asked rather for an answer. They're always meant for agreement or confirmation. So simple definition there. So just a few points, children, which I've jotted down. They're very important. Question tags will always begin with small letters. If you write a capital alphabet for a question tag, you will get it wrong. So they always begin with a small letter. Because it's a question tag, children, a question mark will be used at the end of the sentence. The subject of the question tag, children, is always a pronoun. Okay, a he, she. There is a comma after the statement. So when I say, your name is John, comma, isn't it? Question mark. This is the standard structure for all question tag sentences. The shortest form possible, NT, is used. So when I just said, your name is John, isn't it? So I have used isn't it, an N and an apostrophe T. Okay. Now there are certain rules, children, that we need to understand. Rules for framing a question tag. So I've just, for your easy understanding, I have kind of categorized them. So let's do part one. Part one, positive question tags. Let's see the form of such sentences. We have a verb plus subject plus a question mark. If the statement is negative, use positive question tags. I'm sure everybody is well aware of that. We'll just see a few examples, children. He is not clever. So the answer, he is not clever, comma, is plus he. I put plus there, you don't have to put, just for your better understanding. He is not clever, is plus he. So these are positive question tags, hence the positive sign. They aren't satisfied, are plus they. You won't be late. Now here we have directly written the question tag, children. You won't be late. Will you? Yes. They do not often pray. Do they? Please note, children, all the question tags are positive. You should not be rude. Should you? Please note the positive question tags, all of you. The part 2 is negative question tags, children. Here the form is verb plus not. Since it's a negative question tag, we are going to have a negative word, children. Verb plus not plus subject plus question mark. So if the statement is positive, we have to use negative question tags. Let's see a few examples. She is beautiful. Isn't plus she. The apples are ripe. Aren't they? They will come today. Won't they? We played well. Didn't we? Children, can you note all the question tags are negative? So children, this is very simple. This is by far the simplest category. See, we have helping verbs in all our question tag statements. So if the helping verb is positive, you will have a negative question tag. If the helping verb is negative, you will have a positive question tag. I hope there are no doubts there, children, right? This is very simple. I have simplified it further, children. Okay, there are 2 more examples. He reads well, doesn't he? They act well, don't they? Yes. Now, children, now you need to be very, very attentive here. Note, when there are no helping verbs available, we mainly use 3 question tags. Children, you'll agree with me when I say that this is perhaps the category wherein maximum mistakes are made. Children do not know the use of don't or doesn't or didn't. Or even if they know, they put it with the wrong subject. So that's why I've further classified this to make it simpler for you. See, children, when there are helping verbs, we have to, I have told you, positive helping verb, negative question tag, negative helping verb, positive question tag. That's very easy. But children, not all sentences have helping verbs, right? But then you still need to put a question tag. Then what do? So in such cases, children, we mainly make use of 3 question tags. You have a doesn't he or she, depends on the sentence. Don't they? Didn't he or she or we or they? So primarily, children, we make use of these 3 question tags. Doesn't, don't, and didn't. Now we are going to see how we use them. Okay. So see, I have written in very, very simple language just for you to understand. Children, when there are no helping verbs, you have to check out 2 things. Some of you may remember, we have done all this. Okay. So when there are no helping verbs, children, we have to look at 2 things. One is the tense of the sentence and the number of the subject, whether it is singular or plural. All right. So let's do this. So children, if there is no helping verb and if the sentence is in simple present tense and the subject is singular, then you will have only one standard question tag, and that is doesn't. So simple present tense plus singular subject gives you doesn't. You can see the example, children. She sings well. Now children, see, in she sings well, you don't have any helping verb, do you? No helping verb there. Now note the tense. What is a tense? Simple present tense, yes. And she is a subject. So she is singular. It's a singular subject. So simple present tense plus singular subject. So the question tag is, doesn't she? She sings well, doesn't she? Please, and children, do not worry. All this will be, the PDF of all these notes is going to be sent to you. So you don't have to worry. But please try to understand right now. So when you go through the notes, no children, it will become easier for you that way. So I repeat once again, children. When there are no helping verbs, we make use of 3 question tags. Doesn't, don't, and didn't. If the sentence is in simple present tense and you have a singular subject, you will have doesn't as the question tag. She sings well, doesn't she? Now, children, if the sentence is still in present tense, but the subject has now become plural, then you have another question tag, and that is don't. Simple present tense plus plural subject is don't. See the example. They sing well. So can you see, children? The tense is still simple present and the subject though has changed to they. He becomes a they. So plural subject. They sing well. Don't they? Note the question tag now. On top, she sings well. So doesn't she? Bottom, they sing well. Don't they? So I hope, children, when to use doesn't and when to use don't is now clear. Yes? Now, children, let's go to the past tense, simple past tense. Now, children, in simple past tense, irrespective of whether the subject is singular or plural, you have only one question tag, and that is didn't. So, see, I've kept the same sentence so that you understand properly. He sang well. Can you see, children? He sang well. Same sentence, only the tense has changed. So, children, simple past tense, singular subject he. So, he sang well, didn't he? Now, pay attention. Let's go to the second sentence as well. Then I'll explain. They sang well. They sang well, didn't they? So, children, can you see what has happened now? When the sentence changes to past tense, whether the subject is singular, like he sang, or whether the subject is plural, they sang, we still have the same question tag. Of course, the subject will change, but we have the same question tag, didn't. He sang well, didn't he? They sang well, didn't they? If the sentence would be I sang well, didn't I? So children, the didn't remains constant. So you only have to be careful in the present tense, children. Present tense singular subject doesn't. Present tense plural subject don't. For past tense, no worries. You will have only didn't. And remember, all this happens only when there are no helping verbs. All right. So I think the usage of doesn't, don't, and didn't will be pretty clear to everyone. Yes. Now, children, let's go down. Sentences beginning with I am always carry the question tag aren't I. I hope you remember, everyone. Children, whenever your sentence begins with I am, then you have one standard common question tag, that is aren't I. I am waiting eagerly, aren't I? But please be careful. The sentence should begin with I am only. Only then you're going to have aren't I. Now suppose if it is I am not waiting eagerly, then many children, they just miss that not and they still write aren't I. So you have to be very, very watchful, children. If the sentence would be I am not waiting eagerly, then the question tag is going to be am I. Yes. Now children, there are small categories. We'll quickly go through them. There are some sentences, children, which will consist of an order, a request, a command. Okay. So sentences which consist of an order or a request or command will carry certain other question tags like will you and shall. Generally, if there is a request or an order for somebody else, then it will always be will you. See, do your work. Will you? It could be draw the curtains. Will you? Okay. Do your work. Will you? Let us do our work. Children, whenever your sentence begins with let's or let us, then you're going to have a standard question tag, and that is shall we. Let us do our work. Shall we? So if it is close the door, it will be will you. Let us close the door. Shall we? Take your medicine. Will you? Let us take our medicine. Shall we? So I hope this is clear, children. For others, orders or requests for others, it is will you. When you talk about yourself or when you begin your sentence with let us, it will always, invariably, it is going to be shall we. So children, are we ready to do an exercise on question tags? Yes? Shall we do, children? Let's get started. James is English. So tell me, James is English. What will be the answer, children? What will be the answer for James is English? Is it does he? Is it is he? Isn't he? Doesn't he? Yes, it will be isn't he. James is English. Isn't he? Option C is going to be right. Children, see, your CET is going to have all MCQ questions. You have to be very careful, children, with the time. See, it's a 25 marks test. You are going to have all 25 MCQs. Many a times, children, the answers are there, but because of anxiety or maybe stress or some kind of a worry, sometimes we make the silliest of mistakes. So that all of you need to avoid. Just take 2 to 3 seconds per question and do cross-check quickly, just to ensure that your answer is right. And don't worry, you will be able to crack the CET wonderfully. Just be careful, revise all your concepts thoroughly well, and we all are here. You know that? Yes? We can go to the amusement park with you. Second one, children. We can go to the amusement park with you. What will be the question tag, children? Yes. Option A. Can't we? We can go to the amusement park with you. Can't we? So children, this is our first category, remember? Helping verbs are available over here. So there's no problem there. Okay. Let's see the third example now. He never goes to bed before 10 o'clock. The answer to this would be, children, can you see? There is no helping verb there. The sentence is in simple present tense. Can you see that, children? So I told you which two things should you take into consideration: the tense and the number of the subject, singular or plural. So children, present tense, singular subject. So here, see, present tense singular subject is doesn't. But children, can you see the negative word never there? Right? So it's already in the negative. So the question tag will automatically be positive. So the answer is D. He never goes to bed before 10 o'clock. Does he? Does he? Is my screen visible, children, right now? Okay, fine. Thank you. So let's continue, children. And I'm so happy, children. Almost everybody is answering this right. Very good, children. Very good. Those cars are very expensive, children. Those cars are very expensive. Yes, you're right. Aren't they? Option B. Aren't they? Fifth one. Fifth one. You didn't play tennis last week. This is simple, children. Did you? Option A. Option A. Did you? She has got a lot of books. Option C. Hasn't she? Hasn't she? Yes? A few more children. Everyone came to the wedding. Option D. Yes, you're right. Didn't they? Didn't they? Number 8. There are a lot of students in the garden. Aren't there? Correct. Aren't there? Option B. Option B. Yes. Let's look at the 9th one now. I am the tallest player in the team. Option C. Aren't I? Yes, aren't I? Let's watch a film. So children, note let's. So what are we going to have? Yes, option A. Very good. Shall we? Let's watch a film. Shall we? We tend to take it for granted. Children, no helping verb, present tense, plural subject. So don't. Yes, very good. Don't we? Option C is the right one. I am not satisfied. Children, what will be the answer? I am not satisfied. Yes, answer B. Am I? Am I? Let's look at a few more, children. We must follow the traffic rules. No. Shouldn't we? No, beta. Shouldn't we will come when the helping verb is should in the original sentence, right? We must follow the traffic rules will be option B. Mustn't we? Yes, mustn't we? You never give up. You never give up. Option D. No, sorry. Option C. Yes, you never. There's a never there. Option C. Do you? You never give up. Do you? They look forlorn. Children, forlorn means sad, bereft of something, or feeling lonely, sorrowful. So they look forlorn. Option B. Yes. Don't they? Don't they? Children, I have provided you with the answer key below. Okay. So you can always refer to that later. But almost all of you have answered it right. I know all of you are very smart. See, you all know. Yes. Yes. Please do not worry. I will send everything, children. I am going to send everything. It's ready already. And I'm going to send it after the lecture. Don't worry. Okay. Please do not stress about that. Everything will be sent to you in PDF format. So children, I hope this topic of question tags is clear to one and all. Please let me know. Have you followed this topic? I have tried to make it very, very simple, children. And when you read it later after the lecture, you're going to, understand it even better. Great, great. Very good, very good. So let's get started, children, with our second topic for the day. Yes? So children, the second topic for us today is conjunctions. Yes, conjunctions. Again, a very simple topic. But, we classify the conjunctions. So many children, they just don't revise the list of coordinators and subordinators. I'm sure many children will remember all those days and those n number of lectures wherein I constantly kept on telling you, children, please revise your Conjunctions, please revise your coordinators and subordinators. Now I hope you're thoroughly convinced about the importance of that list. Okay, doesn't matter. We are going to do it once again today. Yes. So topic 2, children, is conjunctions for us. See, in your lower standards, you have done conjunction. What is a conjunction, children? Let's do a basic definition for it. A conjunction is a word which is used to connect words, clauses, or sentences. There are two kinds of conjunctions: the coordinating conjunctions and the subordinating conjunctions. Okay, children. See, it's in a way good that I'm doing this topic today, because in the next English lecture, perhaps you might do transformation of sentences, you might do simple, compound, complex, or clauses. So children, this list is extremely important for those topics as well. So I think you have another lecture just tomorrow. So my request is, please go through this list thoroughly and keep it handy. So when that topic will be taught to you, you will already be in the driver's seat, right? Okay. So children, a conjunction is a word. It's called a joining word. It joins two or more sentences. But children, then conjunctions are classified into two categories. One is coordinating conjunctions and the other is subordinating conjunctions, right? Now children, what I have done is I have made a separate list for coordinating conjunctions and subordinating conjunctions, and even the subordinating conjunctions have bifurcated, have been bifurcated for your better understanding. So first, let's go through the list of coordinating conjunctions. So children, these are your coordinating conjunctions, as you can see on the screen: and, but, or, still, so, hence, therefore, for, yet, not only but also, both and, either or, neither nor, as well as. Okay, now children, what we are going to do is, I'm just going to give you some examples which will help you to understand how we use these conjunctions. Okay. Now see the first sentence, children. She is poor but honest. So we have two sentences: she's poor and she's honest. And we have joined both these sentences with the coordinating conjunction but. As you can see, it's highlighted. She's poor but honest. He is ill, therefore he has not arrived. So therefore is your coordinating conjunction. Either you apologize or we punish you. So either or. They could see neither the sunrise nor the sunset. So neither nor. She can not only sing well, but also dance. So not only, but also. We both love and respect him. So both and. So children, these are the various ways in which you can use your coordinating conjunctions. Now let's take a look at the subordinating conjunctions. So children, subordinating conjunctions also I have divided into non-WH and WH for your better understanding. So children, subordinating conjunctions, first let's look at the non-WH subordinators. Non-WH means those subordinators which do not begin with a WH, right? So in this category, children, we have that because as soon as, no sooner than, so that, so dot dot that, as if, unless, until, before, after, though, although, even though, even if, then, since. So children, all these are your non-WH subordinating conjunctions. Now let's look at the WH. Children, this is very easy. So this way, no, children, if you revise, it becomes easier. So which, when, where we have, why, who, whose, whom, while, whether, and how. I have placed how in the end because children, how doesn't begin with a WH, but it is considered as a WH word. So children, you know, when you revise this list, try to revise it in the same manner, WH and non-WH. So it becomes easy that way. Okay. So I hope children, see, there's nothing to, understand in that list. You just have to revise the list. Now we will try to do an exercise on conjunctions. Okay. So let's do the first one. He finished first. Dash, he began late. Children, tell me the answers quickly. Yes, very good. Although he began late. Yes. Although. Option B is your right answer. Dash, she was not there. I spoke to her sister. Yes. Since she was not there, I spoke to her sister. Option C is your right answer. Third one, the basket was heavy. Dash, I could not lift it. Option, what is the option? Therefore, yes, option C is your right answer. Therefore, I could not lift it. Fourth, I missed the bus. Dash, I walked fast. What will be the option, children? I missed the bus. Yes, I missed the bus, though I walked fast. Yes, though. It shows a contrasting idea. In spite of walking fast, I missed the bus. So, though is your word. Option B is your right answer, children. She is a kind. She is a kind. Yes, very good. As well as, or no, children. Yes. See, even I got a little confused. She is a kind and loving mother. Option B is your right. Now let me tell you why as well as cannot be accepted. Children, can you see the question? She is a kind dash loving mother. Do you have a loving mother? If there would be a loving mother, then your option A would be the appropriate conjunction. She is a kind as well as a loving mother. But there is no a there, no A there, right? So that is why our option B is right. She is a kind and loving mother. Yes, yes. Don't answer. Dash, you know. What will it be, children? Don't answer. Yes, unless you know. Don't answer unless you know. Seventh, cats can climb trees. Dash, dogs cannot. Yes, option C. Cats can climb trees, but dogs cannot. Eighth question. I am sorry. Dash, you are offended. Children, offended means angry or upset about something. Okay. So I'm sorry that, yes, I'm sorry that you are offended. That is our subordinating conjunction, children. So that, yes, that is your right answer. Ninth one. Will you kindly wait? Dash, I return. What will be your answer, children? Until, yes, until. Option B is your right option. How can you write? If you have dash a pen, dash a pencil. Yes, option B, children. How can you write if you have neither a pen nor a pencil? Option B, neither nor. So children, can you see the answer key also has been provided to you? Yes. So children, these we did an exercise on the correct question tag, right? But children, they can also ask you this topic in another format. Sometimes they will ask you whether a particular conjunction is a coordinating conjunction or a subordinating conjunction. So that is why I have prepared another exercise in which identification is going to be asked. So we'll do that also, children. Let's do that. Come on, let's get started, children. Emilio could not eat his dessert until he had finished his dinner. So children, can you see Emilio could not eat his dessert until he had finished his dinner? Children, please note, in the dessert we have a double S. This, children, we have two desserts, right? So this, a sweet dish that you eat after a meal is known as a dessert, but in that spelling we have a double S. So please make the change there. So children, what will be the conjunction? Now first let us highlight the conjunction, children. The conjunction is until, right? Your conjunction is until. Yes. So this is your conjunction, children, and until becomes your subordinating conjunction. Yes. Until becomes your subordinating conjunction. Very good. Number 2, Teresa ate her pecan pie on the porch whenever she could. Children, pecan is actually a tree, which produces a certain kind of a nut. Okay. So, and porch, children, is an open space in front of your house, like a veranda or a gallery. So Teresa ate her pecan pie on the porch whenever she could. So children, whenever, yes, very good. Whenever is your subordinating conjunction. Very good. Whenever is subordinating. Let's look at question number 3. Mike and Keith were best friends. Children, and, yes, and is your coordinating conjunction. Very good. And is coordinating. The fourth one, I'm neither a ballerina nor a tap dancer. Children, a ballerina, no, children? See, you have a ballet. It's an art form, a theatrical art form in which, a song and musical performance is displayed. And a lady or a girl who dances in a ballet is known as a ballerina. And children, I'm sure tap dancer, you know who's a tap dancer. Children, there are certain dancers who use special type of shoes and they tap their feet. There's a particular dance form in which you tap your feet. So such a person is known as a tap dancer. So children, can you see the fourth question? It's a neither and nor. Neither nor. So neither nor, children, becomes your coordinating conjunction. Very good. Fifth one, the baby cried and wailed to get his mother's attention. Children, what's the conjunction here? And, right? Yes, and. And automatically becomes your coordinating conjunction. The sixth, children, sixth sentence. I will have both the apple pie and the pumpkin pie for dessert on Thanksgiving Day. Here again, children, one extra S is missing. So children, what is our conjunction here? Both and. Yes, very good. Both and. And both and is definitely a coordinating conjunction. Seventh one, children, while in the classroom, you need to keep your voice down. So children, which is the conjunction here? While, yes, while. And while, WH word can you see? So no guesses there, children? Subordinating conjunction, subordinating. Eighth one. After recess, the children hurried inside. So children, after, yes, after is your subordinating conjunction. After is a subordinator, right? Ninth, children, ninth. The painting was either too wide or too tall to hang on the wall. Either or, very good. Either or is your coordinating conjunction. Yes. Now let's go on to the 10th one, children. The doctor must come soon or the patient will die. So or is your conjunction, and that is a coordinating conjunction. Yes. So children, like I told you, this topic may come to you in two ways. One is you will have to fill in the blanks with a suitable conjunction, and the other way is identification. They'll give you a sentence and they'll tell you the word so and so is a dash conjunction. So whether subordinating or coordinating. Okay. So children, please let me know if this topic is also clear to one and all. Please let me know. Yes. So children, see, when you use until, you may have two independent clauses. But if you want to join two independent clauses with a particular word, that will automatically be a conjunction. It will be used as a conjunction only. So that is why until will be your subordinating conjunction. See children, remember, we use until or many other conjunctions to join two or more sentences. For our exam or for our understanding, we need to know that there is a separate list of coordinators and a separate list of subordinators. Okay, we don't need to get into the finer details for now. That's what I'm saying. You don't need to get into the finer details. You just need to know the list properly, because that's what they are going to ask you, children. Yes. Kshitij, I think I have already given you the list, beta. The list is already displayed on the screen. See, conjunctions of word which joins two or more sentences, correct? So there are two types of conjunctions, subordinating and coordinating. And then there is a separate list of coordinators, and then there is a separate list of subordinators. We use coordinating conjunctions to make compound sentences. We use subordinators to make complex sentences. That will be done later, of course. But for starters, there's a separate list. So there is really nothing to not understand there. You will just have to go through the list, Kshitij. Okay, and the list has already been provided to you. And as told earlier, it will also be sent to you. You just need to revise it. You just need to revise it. Okay, Kshitij. Okay. So children, now see, now we have done two grammar topics. I think we need some kind of a diversion, right? Let's do a little different topic then. Let's do proverbs. Yes, let's do proverbs, children. A little different from your regular grammar topics. You know? Let's break the monotony now for some time. And let's do proverbs. Now, children, see, in your whether it's ICSE or whether it is the SSC board, the state board, we always have essay writing, right? And we have expansion of themes, expansion of ideas. And generally these days, they only ask you proverbs or sayings. Okay, and you have to elaborate. You have to basically elaborate that idea. And proverbs, children, many people use in their day-to-day conversation, because they are like accessories, they are embellishments for your language. They make your language better to understand, better to comprehend. And just like how you would wear a beautiful accessory or a jewelry to complement your wonderful outfit, and the overall result is wonderful. Similarly, there are many things in a language which make it beautiful, and proverbs is one of them, children. An English language just cannot be complete without the use of proverbs. Correct? So let's just take a small definition, children. A proverb is a short saying that gives us some advice or states some truth. They provide us with an insightful, thoughtful, inspiring perspective about life. Perspective, children, means point of view. Children, see, all of us, we live only once. There is also this proverb, children. We live once, live well. So, children, our life is so very beautiful. Let's try to make it even more beautiful with the inclusion of proverbs in our life, because these proverbs, they really are so thoughtful, thought-provoking. They inspire you, children. Okay, they can change your perspective towards life. They can change your approach towards life as well. Their meaning is generally not literal. Yes, what is written, that is just the tip of the iceberg, as I can see. They do not mean literally. They always symbolize. They use figurative language. Through that particular proverb, no, children, you are taught something about life. You're taught something about the way you approach your life. So knowledge about proverbs, children, is very important. It will also improve your vocabulary. It will enhance your social skills. Yes, people who use proverbs, um, they are always very popular, because everybody is, you can say, impressed with their vocabulary. So it will improve your vocabulary, and automatically your social skills also will be enhanced, no, children? You will make many friends, people will respect you, love you more. So hence, proverbs should become an integral part of our lives, inseparable part of our lives. So children, there are some proverbs which I have just kind of shortlisted with their meanings and with an example. So for you to know or understand better. So let's see a few examples, children, of proverbs with their meanings and usage. All that glitters is not gold. So children, we have heard this proverb n number of times. In fact, some of you must have written so many essays also on it, right? All that glitters is not gold. Now children, what is the meaning? Something might not be as valuable as it seems to be. Okay, children, just let me clarify. See, all of you will agree that we are on a tight leash, children. We are actually racing against time. And a webinar is really not an interactive class. And I understand, and I completely, I can empathize with your condition. Some of you are very anxious. So are we. Let me tell you that, because we also have so much. We also have so much on our plate. So like how you would, how we would interact in a regular class, we're not able to do that much right now. I understand. But after every topic, like I said, I'll be giving you around 5 to 6 minutes, wherein I'll try to solve everybody's doubts. It's not possible, that. We have a huge number of students. So please try to understand and cooperate. Okay? And just in case, if there's anything, if there's still some time, I'll get back to you. Don't worry. So let's continue, children, with our topic. So children, what does all that glitters is not gold? Children, in Hindi we have this. हर चमकने वाली चीज सोना नहीं होती, है ना? I'm sure most of you have heard this. All that glitters is not gold. Something might not be as valuable as it seems to be. Sometimes, no, children, especially today's generation, I've seen that you always get attracted, children, to outer beauty, whether it's a product or somebody may be very handsome, very good looking. So automatically you think that person may be very good. You are impressed, literally in awe of that person. But children, what you see from outside is not necessarily what you get from inside, right? You are determined by the kind of human being you are from within. Because children, see, looks are something we are born with. and you really cannot do much about it. But what is important is you can definitely change your behavior. You can groom yourself to become a better human being. So I think that should be valued more rather than your looks. And with all kinds of cosmetic surgeries available, even that can be corrected now, right? So children, what does all that glitters is not gold mean? That, a thing may look very beautiful, it may look absolutely gorgeous, but it may not be. Okay, from within, it may not be as good. Same goes for people. Radhika bought an attractive bracelet recently, but it broke in less than a week. So, children, Radhika purchased this wonderful necklace, and obviously, I'm sure it must be a scintillating, very, very stunning necklace. She got attracted to it immediately, just like any other girl. But within a week, children, that expensive necklace just broke. So, what did she think? All that glitters is not gold. Wish she had checked it, checked the quality rather than the physical beauty of that necklace. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Children, what does it mean? It is necessary to take the first step to reach your goal. Children, all great things or all big things begin with a small baby step. There are so many of us children who are very impatient or generally, very restless. We want everything very quickly. Today's age is an age of quick fix, 2-minute Maggie. So we want everything instantly. But children, remember, everything begins with a small baby step. All the greatest people in the world, in the history, have all come from very humble backgrounds, and they've taken baby steps to achieving what they achieve later on. So it is necessary to take the first step, because that first step will slowly, gradually, it will take you closer to your goal. So if you want to start a journey of 1,000 miles, you have to take the first step ahead, right? And how can you use it, children? I feel overwhelmed with all the tasks I have to finish. But I have to start with something, since a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So, children, that first start is what you require. Take that first step, and you will be able to achieve whatever you want to in life. And literally, whatever, children. A bird in hand is worth two in the bush. Children, can you see all these are our regular proverbs which have generally featured in all exams? Yes? So I have shortlisted only those proverbs. Children, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. What you have is better than what you might get. Don't you agree, children? There are so many people, children, so many people in our society who are never satisfied with what they have. They completely neglect what they have, and they always want something that they don't have. And they keep on dreaming about that. Oh, what if I get that? What if I get this? But remember, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. What you have is real, it's concrete, it is there with you. What you don't have, how can you be so sure that you're going to get it? So what you have is much better than what you might have. Okay? So please learn to value what you have, children. One bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. There may be two birds in the bushes, but they might fly away anytime. But the one bird, you have it in your hand, no, that's real. So please value that bird rather than those two birds in the bushes. That's what it means. I think I'll sell my car at the offered price instead of waiting for something higher. After all, A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Yes. So children, I want you to go through all these proverbs and please look at the meanings, because they might ask you questions like this. They will give you a particular proverb and then they will give you options with the different meanings. So you will have to tick the correct option. Okay. Now children, see, I have given, I think, roughly around 40 proverbs. I have shortlisted the regular, the most commonly asked proverbs, and around 40, I think I have, prepared, shortlisted. So, of course, I will not be able to go through all the 40. I will, at the most, maybe we'll go through 15. Okay. I'll explain 15. The remaining children, I want you to please go through them and revise. Okay. They're just meanings, children. You don't need to, kind of learn or nothing. There's no revision there. You just need to go through the various proverbs. Okay. Number 4, actions speak louder than words. Very true, children. Very true. What someone does means more than what they say they will do. Children, हमें ये करना है, we have to do this, we should do this, I will do this and I will do that. Why are you saying it? Why can't you just do it? Aren't actions more important than words, children? People can say 1,000 number of things, but are they able to do those things? That is what is going to make the difference. So always remember, your actions, your deeds, they will speak louder than your words. What you want to do, you don't have to say, you don't have to speak it aloud. Just do it. People will see it. She never bragged about her grades, but secured the second position in the board exams. Truly, actions speak louder than words. Yes? Children, number 5, very, very simple. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. Eating an apple daily keeps you healthy. Yes. Generally all fruits. Yes. You won't fall ill if you eat the fruits. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. So basically, the importance of eating an apple, eating fruits, eating healthy. An idle brain is the devil's workshop. Again, so true. Children, in the last 1.5 years, I think we are going through a terrible pandemic, right? So many people, children, lost their jobs, and so many people are in so much of anxiety and stress, and there's financial instability in so many people's lives. So children, there are so many people who are sitting idle at home. There are so many children who are generally, they do not have any work to do. Their mind is empty. And children, you'll agree with me when I say, whenever you're sitting idle with children, there's always this tendency to do something bizarre, weird, dangerous, hateful. Correct? So, children, you should always be busy from here. Even if you're not doing some kind of manual work, physical work, but you need to be at least occupied mentally. Think something productive, think about the good times, think about your future, set goals for your future. It's very important. It's very important. Yes, Saurabh, do you want to ask something? Please let me know what it is. Okay. Now, children, evil thoughts come easily to us when we are idle. Children, all of us have gone through these phases. Whenever we do not have any work to do, we will invariably end up doing the wrong thing, things which we are not supposed to do, things which can harm others, hurt others. So I don't know what it is, but that's the way how things are, children. Whenever your mind is idle, you will always think of doing something nasty, evil thoughts will start coming to you. Yes, yes. Children, once again, one second. Let me just once again make this very clear to you. Children, you don't have to worry about today's notes at all. I'm telling you once again, everything will be sent to you immediately after this lecture ends. Everything, all the 3-4 topics that I'm going to do today, the notes are ready with me and everything will be shared on the group. So please do not worry. I hope I'm absolutely clear now. Huh? Let there be no doubt in your mind. We are going to share everything on the group. Please don't worry, children. Concentrate here. So children, evil thoughts come easily to us when we are idle. You should give your daughter something to do in the afternoon. After all, an idle brain is the devil's workshop. Yes. You know, a devil always thinks of disaster and destruction. So an idle mind will work like a devil, think like a devil. So let not a devil's workshop reside in your mind, in your brain. Let your brain be healthy. Allow it to think, make it work. Okay? Physical work, mental work doesn't matter, but keep it busy all the time. Apart from this, children, and an idle brain is also an invitation to so many diseases. Correct? Then children, a stitch in time. Again, a very, no, I think I missed one. Appearances can be deceptive. Yes. Children, deceptive means, you know what? Deceptive means something which can cheat you. Dhoka dena. In Hindi we say, dhoka dena. Hai na? Children, appearances can be deceptive, and especially in today's times. Of course, appearances are really deceptive. Something might be different from how they appear outwardly. Yes, children, see, when we go out, or generally when we try to portray ourselves in front of others, we will always try to picture a good side of ours. Hai na? Nobody is foolish enough to, you know, show their faults or weaknesses to others. That is okay. But children, then there are some people who will try to put on a different face for their selfish gains. That is definitely wrong. You know, that is very wrong. Because somebody, the other person, has put in so much trust in you. You know, that person has begun to look up to you. And then for your personal gain, if you are going to, you know, use that person, it's really not done, no, children. That's not the way. Yes, 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 Prajakta, you're right. Different colors. Hai na? Children, in Hindi, we have another. Now, Prajakta gave me this, so I remember. हाथी के दांत एक है ना, खाने के दांत अलग, दिखाने के अलग. You know, people are generally always, you know, they are something else from inside, but they will try to project a different side of theirs. Gargi, you know how they'll ask these questions? They will try to, see, like I told you, they will give you a particular proverb. Okay? Suppose if they'll tell you a stitch in time saves 9. Suppose if this is the, all let's say appearances can be deceptive. So they'll give you appearances can be deceptive. This proverb means, and then they might give you 3 to 4 meanings, different meanings. And you will have to pick the correct meaning of the proverb that they have asked. Okay, I hope I'm clear there. Huh? This is one way. I'll come to the other way once we do the other exercise. A stitch in time saves 9, children. Yes, it is better to deal with problems immediately than letting them become bigger. Yes, children, you have to nip the problem in the bud itself. Whenever you see something wrong is going to happen, or some, you know, some vice is going to, you know, some crime is going to take place, or something wrong is going to happen, you need to nip it in the bud itself. So children, it is very important to deal with problems very early. Otherwise, you know, they will become bigger and bigger and create problems for you. Don't ignore the sudden malfunctioning of your car. Just go to the garage. A stitch in time saves 9. Yes. So children, let's do 10. Okay. The remaining ones you can do because the meanings are explained. And so is the usage given. So you can easily go through that. Okay. So children, ninth one, as you sow, so shall you reap. Very commonly asked proverb, children. Your actions will determine your results. Children, what you do is what you get, है ना, in return. As you sow, so shall you reap. What you do to others will be done to you. Let's take an example. If you don't go to sleep early, you will wake up late. As you sow, so shall you reap. So if you have been selfish to somebody, somebody else will be selfish to you. And then you can't complain. What you give is what you get, no, children. You can't do bad to others and expect good from them. That's not the way things work. So your actions always have to be good. Your thoughts and your actions have to be noble all the time. And let's take a last one for today, children. Huh? The grass is always greener on the other side. Again, a very beautiful proverb, children. Children, don't we always like what others have? You know? Remember as kids, children, when you all used to go to school, you always liked your friends' tiffins, dabba. And your tiffin would always be left aside. Maybe your friend would like your tiffin, but you would always like your friend's tiffin. Children, there's nothing like that is better or this is better. It's not like that. It's just some novelty. Human tendency, we human beings are like that. What we have, no, children, we never seem to like it. We never seem to value it, rather. We always like what others have because we think that is better. In reality, it is not. The other person thinks the same way about you, children. Okay, so grass is always greener on the other side. Other people always seem to be in a better situation, although it might not be true. Yes, you always feel that, other people are always better off than me. They are earning more than me. They are more qualified than me. They are happier than me. They have this more than me. They have that more than me. Children, the list is endless because grass is always greener on the other side. So let's take an example. Sometimes I feel I should have gone for my master's degree like you instead of this job. Well, the grass is always greener on the other side. So again, children, you always like what others have. The others always like what you have. This goes on. So children, see, like I said, I had given you around 40 proverbs with their meanings and examples to show their usage. So you can go through all those 40 proverbs. Okay. So let us now let us do a couple of exercises, children, on proverb. See, one of you, I think Gargi, you had asked me, Miss, how will these questions be asked? So see, I have prepared small exercise. So this also will prepare you better for this topic. Okay, let's do it. So children, let's see this. Come on, I want everybody to answer. Gear up now. A bird in the hand. Where is the answer? Where is the answer? Quickly, quickly. A bird in the hand. Option C, yes, is worth 2 in the bush. A bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. People in glass houses. Children, people in glass houses. Where is this? Where is the option? Let's search. Where is it? Where is it? Yes, the last option. Last option. Should not throw stones. Yes. Children, people who live in glass houses should not throw stones at others. Means people who are themselves full of faults should not try to point out faults in others. You correct your faults, then you correct other people's faults. That is the meaning of this proverb. Okay, so option J is your right answer for second one. Answer key is given, children, don't worry. Among the blind. Children, among the blind. The one-eyed man is king. Yes. E. Option E is right. As you sow. We just did, children. As you sow. Where is the option? So shall you reap. Option H. Yes. Make hay. Make hay while the sun shines. Option D. Yes, option D. Better late than never. Option I, children. Option I. Better late than never. Children, there is never a time to do good work. Whenever you realize your mistake, Just do it. It's never too late for any mistakes to be corrected. Blood is thicker. Children, blood is thicker than water. Yes, F. Blood is thicker than water. Don't bite the hand. Don't bite the hand. Yes, option A, that feeds you. Never be ungrateful, children. Always have gratitude for everybody who plays an important role in your life. Don't kill the goose. Yes, option G, that lays golden eggs. Yes, do not be overcome by greed, children. Do not be greedy. Go in one ear. 10th. Go in one ear. Option B, yes, and out the other. Children, good things, of course, you have to listen with both your ears. But children, there are many people who will gossip about you or who will talk bad about you. Just listen from one ear and let it go out of the other. Okay, so see, children, can you see the answer key is already given? Okay, another exercise is there. Yes, again, let's match, children. Now here, children, can you see you have to match the proverbs and sayings in column A with their meanings. So this is another pattern. So I'm sure, children, all of you are clear how this question will be asked. Okay. Now here, children, I have given proverbs in column A and the meanings. We have to match the proverbs with their respective meanings. Let's start. Easy come, easy go. Now, children, what does this mean? Easy come, easy go. Where is it? Okay. You say this when you get something easily and then lose it easily. Yes. What comes easily goes easily. Correct? Like father, like son. Yes. Option I, children. Children are similar to their parents. Yes. No pain, no gain. Where is it? No pain, no gain. You have to work hard if you want to succeed. Yes. Option A, that's your right answer, children. All that glitters is not gold. Yes, option G, children. Option G is your right answer. Things that look good may not be as good. First come, first served. What is it? First come, first served. Yes, option C. Those who arrive first will receive first. You always have to be early, children. You have to be on time. Let bygones be bygones. What has happened? Just forget about it. Let bygones be bygones. So, children, that is option J. Forgive someone for something they did in the past. Forgive someone for something they did in the past. Yes. Do not harbor negative feelings in your mind, children. Just let it go. Let bygones be bygones. Kill two birds with one stone. Children, what does this mean? Kill two birds with one stone. Yes, option D, children, option D. Solve two problems with the same action. Yes, if I can solve two problems with one action, why wait? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yes, what does this mean? Yes, option F, option F. If something works fine, don't change it. Something is good, do not change it, children. Keep it. All's well that ends well. Where is it? Yes, option H. As long as the outcome is good, problems on the way don't matter. Whatever ends well, everything is good. It's better to be safe than sorry. Option B. It's better to be cautious, means careful. Cautious means careful. You should always be careful. Otherwise, you will have to repent later. Okay, children? So see, I have given you two exercises. This is how they will ask you. Okay? So, great, children. This topic is over. Answer key is given. Let us enrich our life, children. Let's enrich our life with proverbs. I hope this topic is clear. Is this topic clear, children? Yes? Okay, okay. You just have to read this, children. There's really nothing to understand, you know, proverbs they're just for enriching your life. You just need to go through them. That's it. Okay. Now, children, now we are going to start with our fourth topic for the day. Okay. I'm starting this. I really have no idea whether I'm going to finish it. Just in case, children, if you are not able to finish it, don't worry. We can always continue it. Okay. Because I really don't want to rush. We have the last 15 minutes. We'll start with it. Okay. Now, children, you have heard about active and passive voice, right? You have heard about active and passive voice. I'll just quickly, explain this topic with examples. Let's compare the two sentences. Rahul helps Tina. Tina is helped by Rahul. Okay. Now, children, look at both the sentences. Both the sentences mean the same. Prince, yes, you can tell me what you want to ask me. You can send me a chat, beta. Okay. So, children, both the sentences have the same meaning. Yes, both the sentences have the same meaning, but the constructions are different, right? In the first sentence, the subject, Rahul. Can you see the subject, Rahul? He is the doer of the action, children. He is the doer of the action. Doer or performer. You know, he's performing the action. He does something. What does he do, children? He helps you. He helps you. He's helping Tina. The verb that expresses the action done by the subject is said to be in the active voice. Yes. When children, when you have the subject in the beginning and he is performing the action, it is all the sentence is always, or the verb is always said to be in the active voice. You know, children, in simple language, you remember when you were in your lower classes, you did subject predicate. I hope all of you remember that. So, children, in subject, see, what is subject predicate, children? Subject means the doer of the work or the doer of the action or something that we are about whom we are talking. Like if I give you Australia is the largest island. Here, we are talking about Australia. So, Australia becomes your subject. Now, here, Rahul helps Tina. So, Rahul is doing the action of helping Tina, correct? So, Rahul becomes your subject and helps Tina becomes your predicate. Yes or no, children? Subject means the doer of the action and predicate that means that which is happening. What is happening is called predicate. So, children, when the subject comes in the beginning and then it is followed by predicate, such a sentence is said to be in the active voice. And if the reverse happens, if the predicate comes in the beginning and the subject goes in the end, the sentence is said to be in the passive voice. Let's do it in more detail, children. In the second sentence, now children, see the second sentence. Tina is helped by Rahul. The verb that expresses the action done by the subject is said to be in the active voice. See, in the second sentence, Tina is the receiver of the action. Yes or no, children? See, Rahul helps Tina. So, Rahul is the performer or doer of the action. And he is helping Tina. So, Tina is receiving the action. Correct, children? So, this, in the second sentence, the subject Tina is the receiver of the action. So, something is done to her. She is helped, correct? She is helped. So, she is receiving the action of, of being helped by Rahul. So, the verb that expresses what is done to the subject is said to be in the passive voice. So, voice is the form of the verb which shows whether the subject does something or the subject has something done to it. So, if I give you a sentence like, he wrote a poem. Now, here, children, he becomes your subject and wrote the poem becomes your predicate, right? So, children, he wrote a poem. The subject is coming in the beginning of the sentence and he is performing the action. He wrote a poem. He is performing the action of writing a poem. So this sentence will be said to be in the active voice. Okay, children? First, we are only going to look at the active voice. Now, remember, when the subject is the agent or the doer, a person who does an action is known as doer, children. So when the subject or the agent is the doer of the action, the sentence will always begin with the subject. Yes. In an active voice, no, children? The sentence will always begin with the subject. Very important. This means that subject is of prime importance. Means in an active voice, the subject becomes most important. Prime importance means most important. In other words, he becomes active. He is the active member in the sentence. At such times, children, the verb is said to be in the active voice. See the examples, children. John purchased a car. Second example, she has written an inspiring song. Okay. Remember, when the subject is passive, undergoer or receiver of the action, and the action is more important, and if the sentence begins with it, then the verb is said to be in the passive voice. Yes. Children, in an active voice, the subject becomes more important. And in the passive voice, the object or the predicate, as you may call it, that becomes more important. Now, children, see, I have transformed the same sentences of the active voice. In the active voice, children, it was John purchased a car. Can you see here? A car was purchased by John. See, children, here, don't you see the predicate? Don't you see the predicate in the beginning? John purchased a car. A car was purchased by John. So here, John, which is the subject, has shifted. And the predicate seems to have come in the beginning, where earlier the subject was. So in the passive voice, children, the predicate becomes more important than the subject. In the active voice, the subject becomes more important than the predicate. The placements are different. The meaning is still the same. And children, another thing, you have to keep two important rules in mind during transformation of sentences. Whenever you change one sentence from one grammatical structure to another, you cannot change the original tense and the meaning of the earlier sentence. Whatever question which has been given for transformation, its original tense and meaning should not be changed in any scenario. Rest all structural changes are allowed. Sometimes you need to add a few words, or sometimes you also need to delete a few words. All that is also allowed. But meaning and tense of the original sentence should remain intact. Okay, these two rules, children, you need to remember. So, children, the doer of an action is called, okay, a car was purchased by John. And children, in the earlier sentence, I had given you, she wrote an inspiring poem. So, see how we have changed the voice. An inspiring song, not poem, an inspiring song has been written by her. So the doer of an action is called subject. And the action done by the subject is represented by a verb. The receiver of the action done by the subject is called object. See example, children. Sumit was drawing a picture. So what does Sumit become here? Sumit is the subject. Why? Because he is doing the action of drawing. So Sumit is the subject. Was drawing. What does it become? Verb or action. And a picture. That is your object. So see, it is following that pattern, children. S plus V plus O. And this is exactly an active voice. The subject is coming in the beginning. So children, what is active and what is passive? whenever the subject comes in the beginning of the sentence and the subject is performing the action, or in simple language, as I may say, when the subject comes in the beginning and is followed by predicate, that sentence is said to be in the active voice. Whereas, if the predicate comes in the beginning and then is followed by subject, the object or the predicate, if that becomes more important than the subject, then your sentence is said to be in the passive voice. If I give you, the maid had washed the clothes. Now, children, the maid is a subject. So, see, can you see this coming in the beginning of the sentence? So, the maid is your subject. Had washed clothes becomes your predicate. So, the maid had washed clothes becomes active. The sentence is said to be in the active voice. If I had to change this sentence in the passive voice, how will I do it, children? The clothes had been washed by the maid. So see here, I brought the predicate in the beginning and shifted the subject. And I kept the tense, past perfect tense, had washed, the same. Okay, so this is what you need to keep in mind. Now children, I've just prepared some small categories. Can you see this? Sentences which will consist an order shall always begin with let if you are making the sentence in passive voice. Sorry. Let's take an example. If I give you a sentence like maintain silence. So see children, this is active voice, maintain silence. So at such times, you are going to begin your sentence with let. Let silence be maintained. Now children, you don't need to write a subject by you. Even if you write, it will be okay, but it is not required. Let silence be maintained. So maintain silence, children. It's more like an order, no? Isn't there an order? Maintain silence. So that's why you begin your sentence with let. Let silence be maintained. In case of requests, children, you have to begin your sentence with you are. For instance, please give me some food. So see, there's a request. Please give me some food. So the answer is you are requested to give me some food. You are requested to give me some food. In case of advice or suggestions, children, in case of advice or suggestions, there is a hidden subject, that is you. It is understood, children. You have to assume. Serve the poor. So, children, this is an advice. Means it's a good advice that you must help the poor or serve the poor. And it is in the active voice. So, how will you convert it into passive voice, children? The poor should be served by you. So, this we have made it into passive voice. Eat leafy vegetables. Children, this can be again an advice or a suggestion. Eat leafy vegetables. The sentence is an active voice. So children, how do you do it in passive voice? Leafy vegetables should be eaten. Even if you don't put by you, you will still be marked as right. Okay? If you write, you don't write, there is no issue there. Leafy vegetables should be eaten by you. So children, there are two types of voices, active voice and passive voice. In an active voice, the subject is the performer of the action. He is more active, he or she is more active. And the subject will always come in the beginning if the sentence is in active voice. Whereas in the passive voice, the predicate becomes more important and hence the predicate is placed first and then it is followed by subject. And then there are small categories. If there is an order, you begin your sentence with let. If there is a request, you supposed to use you are. Okay. If there is an advice, like I said here, in case of advice or suggestion, you have to assume that there is a hidden subject, that is you. So children, see, I think now our time is almost up. So for your next lecture, whenever we meet children, I just want you to revise this. See, the earlier three topics, they have been done completely. You just need to revise that. For the next lecture, when we meet, I want you to thoroughly revise these notes of active and passive. If there are any doubts, in the beginning of the next lecture, we'll clarify those and then we will do an exercise on active and passive. I think there are two exercises. We'll do it. Okay, children? Yes? Can we end the lecture, children? Please let me know. Are the first three topics absolutely clear? And are you going to just go through the notes of active and passive? This topic is remaining, children. We'll continue it in the next lecture because the time is up. Okay? Yes? Okay then, children. Bye. Nice meeting. Not seeing you, but yes, nice meeting you. We'll meet in the next lecture, children. All right? I'll send the PDF. Don't worry. Bye. Bye, everyone.